So I've seen the comments, let's do some old school tactics. This one is 18 to 19, so not too old school. It is going to be Ten Hag's Ajax. I've seen the comments, it's a very iconic Ajax team, if you do remember that. Let's get right into it. We're going to do the tactic first today. So we're going to get right into the tactic, but first I do want to thank all of the names coming down the screen right now. These are going to be new or existing Patreon members. There's over 2,000 of you guys right now. Definitely worth coming over and getting involved because there are over 10 perks, including access to all 3 of the tactics you see on the screen. You get early video, early tactic release. You also going to get priority in the request. This actually was a big priority request. You also get one-on-one tactical help, and also you get access to the giveaway, which at the moment is a £50 PayPal gift card. Not only this, you also get Discord perks and Twitch perks as well, including a free gifted sub in some of the tiers. So go over and check it out. But let's talk about this Ajax system. So you'll remember the Ajax team. Every recent football fan should do, especially just for some of the players that had who simply did overperform to a very high level. The goalkeeper is going to be a sweeper keeper who is simply going to come in on support. Nice and simple. The fullback on the right is simply going to be on attack. We know how aggressive these fullbacks were in this Ajax team, so it's only right that both of the fullbacks are both going to be on attack, getting stuck in and taking the game to the opposition. Going over to the ball playing defenders, there are going to be 2. On the right hand side is going to be the default, and the left hand side again is going to be the default. So a complete default back 4 now. That is no mistake from me. It's simply because there are no additional instructions which I believe really replicate this system too well without going too over the top. Going over to the midfield is going to be where it got a little bit tricky to pick the exact role. Obviously this is going to be the Frankie de Jong role. You could argue a deep line playmaker, Roman playmaker, possibly even a halfback, some would argue. I have gone with a deep line playmaker on support, simply on the default instructions, but naturally he's going to shoot less often, he's going to take more risks, and also he's going to hold his position. Next to him is going to be a Roman playmaker who I've opted to have on dribble more. Now this is where things can get debated. There's going to be a lot of discussion hopefully in the comments. What you personally believe is de Jong's role. In my opinion, it's definitely a DLP. That's all I'm going to say. Moving up the field is going to be a much needed position. The central midfielder on attack, who simply is on move into channels. Nice and simple. On the right hand side is going to be the inverted winger on support. Of course, across more often, we saw the Starman putting balls in the box in that season, and also roam from position. Alongside of this, is also naturally going to be dribbling more and cutting inside, so no additional instructions are going to be required when it comes to that. On the left hand side is going to be an inside forward on attack, simply on the default again, because again he has 5 instructions already given to him. We don't need to overcomplicate things, and the great thing about this system is obviously these players are naturally going to be City pretty much inside, so these fullbacks can overlap and really get involved, and that is what makes this tactic really cook. It really does. So ignore them, they were the first positions I did show you. And lastly, it is going to be the false 9, simply obviously on support, on roam from position, who is literally going to be just a man to roam about and link up the play. Over to the team instructions, all based off the tiki-taka style on the positive mentality. We're going to go for overlap left and overlap right. Of course, I've just literally banged on about the importance of the fullbacks in this tactic, so they have to be overlapping. We're going to play out from the back. Of course, it is the Ten Hag way. The directness, we're actually going to go for much shorter, match with a slightly higher tempo, so it's not going to be too aggressive on your players either, in the sense of a complete maxed out tempo, for example, so that's quite nice as well. We're going to be more expressive because they definitely were very attacking. They were allowed to sort of roam about and do what they wanted to a certain degree. We're going to work the ball into the box to create real high quality chances, and lastly, of course, we're going to have low crosses when it comes to the final third. In transition, it's going to be very simple. It's going to be playing it to the centre backs because we've got 2 ball playing defenders who can then play it to the midfielders, and then they can progress it up the field. And of course, we are also going to counter press. We are not going to counter attack today. Lastly, out of possession, it's quite common sense. Of course, it is going to be the higher defensive line matched with the high pressing line of engagement. We're going to go with more often when it comes to that trigger press, and we are also going to set a pressing trap to trap inside. Over to the attacking variant. The attacking variant is actually more of a 4-2-3-1 system. He's very well known for this transition before the 4-3-3 and the 4-2-3-1. Mid-game, obviously in-game, you can do it to a certain extent, but I have gone to the effort to actually show you sort of how it shapes up on paper, and some of the results we'll talk about are tested with this one and also the 4-3-3. So definitely get both to see which one you prefer. But the goalkeeper is going to be a sweeper keeper, again, simply on support. The fullbacks are going to remain exactly the same because it is a very similar to that 4-3-3 in terms of how the tactics should look, but obviously you're just taking one of the players from a deeper position in midfield and really getting them involved by putting them in attacker midfielder position. Both of the ball playing defenders are simply going to remain the same because they don't need to be changed. We actually did opt for a halfback because obviously we do lose a little bit of midfield presence by having another player really up the field, so the halfback does come in simply on defend, and next to him I've actually changed it up a little bit. I've gone for a volante. Now you can go with a Roman playmaker, but in this system, mainly for the match engine as well, style, it really does benefit having the Volante in there, and he is going to be on dribble more. Both of the wide players are going to be a supportive inside forward on the left and also on the right with roam from position on. Now, again, very much like the same tactic, or the first tactic, sorry, is almost the same tactic. The fact is they are going to cut inside with the ball, meaning the fullbacks can overlap and really get involved. Make sure you don't have them staying out wide or any malarkey like that, because they will obviously collide with the fullbacks, who are going to be very, very attacking. In a midfield, and the real big change to transition this from a 4-3-3 to a 4-2-3-1 is going to be that attacker midfield player, simply on get further forwards. And lastly, it's going to be that false nine, who is going to remain the same across all three variants, because you can't take that out of the team. Instruction-wise, it's going to be based off the tiki-taka style on the attacking mentality, so it is, as it says, a lot more attacking. This is going to remain the same. This is going to be left blank. We're going to play out from the back without overlap on left and overlap on right. Now, your wing-backs, full-backs, whatever they are also going to get involved despite not having these selected. I didn't have it on this variant because it was already quite an attacking improvement. I don't want to full send and be way too vulnerable at the back. So they will do it. You'll see it in the highlights, but we're not going to specifically ask them to do it in the team instructions. When it comes to the directness, we are going to go to shorter, a slightly higher tempo, be more expressive, and also the low crosses. Yes, it is exactly the same as the 4-3-3. A lot of it will be very similar because it is the same system, but obviously just in FM, you can't transition naturally during a game without actually changing the tactic screen. In transition, we're actually going to change it a little bit, so we're going to counter press, but we're also going to play to the entire back line with this variant while taking short goal kicks. Lastly, out of possession, it has got a touch more of an aggressive side, this tactic, so this is going to be the same, but we are going to actually max out that trigger press in this variant and also trap inside. This is definitely a bit more of an attacking variant to that 4-3-3. Let's go over to a more defensive one. So this is a defensive one, and maybe one I've just made for you guys to use. It might take a little bit of inspiration from the authentic Ten Hag style, but I do like to include it for you guys that struggle. You're conceding goals, you want a little bit of help, so here you go. So the goalkeeper is going to be a sweeper keeper who is simply going to be on support. Both of the fullbacks are going to be set to literally the default. Now, this is not a misclick. I've not told any instructions. It is simply because I don't want them going over the top or doing anything special, simply just to play as a fullback. So they are going to be set to the default alongside of two default ball playing defenders. So across all three variants, there's not too many crazy instructions across the back line because it gets the job done and replicates the system very, very well. The halfback remains in the team compared to that 4-2-3-1. Of course, this is also going to be a 4-2-3-1, but a much more of a supportive defensive variant, simply on the default. Then we actually have a ball and a midfield player. Now, if you want to go be a bit more confident in your team, of course, you can have the Volante. The Roman Playmaker would be a very good example as well of a great role you can use. Both of the wide players are going to be literally the same. So an inverted winger on support and roam from position, and the inside forward on the default. Again, the fullbacks aren't going to be as attacking, but they will naturally overlap. So we do want them inside players obviously being inside and not colliding with them out wide. So that is why they do remain on inside instructions. The attacker midfield player remains in the team, but simply gets dropped down to a default supportive role. And the false nine, again, remains exactly the same, unchanged in all three variants, simply on roam from position. Now, this tactic, it won't score as many goals, but you will be naturally better when it comes to the defensive side, and it's set more on the counter-attack. Again, all based off the tiki-taka style, but this time it's on balance. So it is going to be a lot more defensively structured, more solid at the back. We're going to go with play out from the defence because we have got two ball-playing defenders. We've got two deep midfielders now, so it makes sense to use them. This is going to be left as it is, so it's going to be a lot lower of a tempo. The directness is going to be slightly more direct. Definitely not long ball, but definitely, you know, not afraid to go long if we need to do so. We're going to run at defence, and also we are going to go with the low crosser. So it is much more of a sort of, not a sit-back tactic, but a much more of a reserved defensive tactic that is going to hit on the counter attack and cause issues. Transition is going to be the opposite of what we've been doing. It's going to be counter when possession has been won. We're not going to counter press, and we're not going to regroup, and we are going to play to anyone across that back line while taking short goal kicks. And lastly, out of possession, we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to have the high press and line of engagement, but we are going to rock the standard defensive line just for this variant. It makes it a lot more balanced and a lot better playing, and we are also going to max out that trigger press. So that is where a little bit of the urgency is going to come into. But let's get into the results. First up, over to the competition, but we enjoyed a very good season. As you can see, we won the Dutch League quite convincingly here, winning 31 out of a potential 34 games, drawing the other two and obviously losing one game. The Europa League, we ain't going to talk about. It was a bit of a mess, but we bounced back and win the Europa Conference League, which we are going to take. Berghaus there enjoying a very, very good season when it comes to the Conference League, and also picking up the Dutch Cup. You can't complain. And it's going to be this man here, Branko van der Boomen, picking up 22 goals. Obviously a midfield player who got very heavily involved in the goal scoring and absolutely took over every competition. In stat wise, we've got a feature in almost everything. The most points per game at 2.79, the most goals at 112, the fewest shots against at 161. Possession wise, we're obviously going to be up there with 63% of the ball. Most dribbles being made at 622, the fewest conceded and the most clean sheets. Data hub wise, 3.29 goals every single game, 0.41 conceded, getting on for 17 shots a game, and over a 91% pass completion. And to look at the goal scorers, you are going to see now the actual impact this did have. So 33, 26, 24, 24, obviously 11 there. We're going to have 4 players with 20 plus goals in the season. That is absolutely remarkable. And in terms of the assists, it's exactly the same story. A lot of people getting involved, and I cannot complain a single bit. Obviously playing the 4-3-3 with this Ajax test, just to clarify that, we had a very tough Europa Conference League final against Fenerbahce, who actually have quite the good team. They go 1-0 up here, as you can see, with a great ball and a great header from Edin Dzeko inside of 28 minutes. And we do bounce back just after half-time with a great set piece. Great ball in from Sosa. Manswerk obviously gets his head to it, and another set piece. Berghaus backstick into Satalo. And this is why I always say, get my set pieces, because they absolutely cook. We do take the lead here, as you can see, with Berghaus, who's going to take it past one and absolutely take on everyone by the looks of it to actually win it in extra time. They do get one back right towards the end, but luckily I switched to the defensive variant for the last sort of spell of the game, and we were completely fine. So we got the job done. Moving to Manchester United, obviously a team which I thought we better do because he is the manager of them now, and United fans, you're going to be quite happy. We win the Premier League, but we also win the Champions League against Real Madrid. These 2 cups we're not going to talk about, but this was absolutely remarkable. Marcus Rashford enjoying a great season, 37 goals in the Premier League alone, 12 in the Champions League. Mason Mount, most assists. I wish that was the case in real life, but we definitely can't complain about that. Stat-wise, we're also going to feature in 5. You can't really complain. Most points per game at 2.32. The most goals at 102. Arsenal, not really close to us, which we've got to take. Over 560 shots. Possession-wise, we're up there as well as 60% of the ball. I will clarify this. This was also tested with that 4-3-3, so the last test is going to be done with the 4-2-3-1. Just to clarify that as you are watching, the fewest conceded at 25 and the most clean sheets at 21. Data hub wise, over 2 goals, 2.68 to be exact, way under a goal conceded at 0.66, over 14.5 shots every single match, and that tackle win ratio and pass completion looking quite neat too. Seems to be the extra time video today, as every cup final seems to be going there, and as you can see right now, we did not get off to a hot start. To be fair, it's one hell of a header from Big Tushanemi there. We bounce back here, I believe, on Marcus Rashford. It's going to be Sancho on the wing, who puts a great ball in back stick, and yeah, Marcus Rashford comes in, and I believe the last goal was an own goal, so we got a little bit lucky, but we've got to take it. A ball in from Eriksen, and I believe it was Mendy, wasn't it? Yeah, Ferland Mendy. It's a stinker. Lastly, a tactic tested with the 4-2-3-1. That is going to be Bayern Munich, the real powerhouse of the video, where we absolutely stampede the German league, winning 20 out of a potential 34 games. Harry Kane with 25 goals, Alphonso Davies also picking up the highest average rating, and Leroy Sané picking up 14 assists. The Champions League we wouldn't have won anyway because we're playing on the same save as Manchester United, so only one of us would have won it anyway. The Pokal we won with Serge Gnabry contributing with 4 goals in that competition, and the German Super Cup we won that as well, where Leon Goretzka scored 2. So again, a nice variety of players scoring the goals. A treble winning season. We dominated Germany. And team stats, it's almost a clean sweep. The most points per game at 2.62, the most goals at 95, not as many as what I thought, to be honest with you. Most goals at over 600, fewer shots against at 126. Possession, we're going to rank one in that with 60% of the ball. I'd say that's a fair stat line, sort of 60 to 62% of the ball is what you can expect with this tactic. The most dribbles being made at 786, the fewest goals conceded at 19, and also the most clean sheets coming in at 20. Defensively solid, good on the ball, good at scoring goals. What else is there? Data hub wise, 2.79 goals every single game. I think definitely the highest. We're getting up towards that 3-goal margin now. Still way under a goal a game. We're very defensively solid with this 4-2-3-1. Over 17 shots a game, 90% pass completion, and a 79% tackle win ratio. Finally, no extra time in a cup final. This is going to be the Pokal final against Hoffenheim. So it's not the toughest challenge, I will be honest. Goretzka gets off to a flying start, a great header, and what a player he is. Anyone from Manchester United watching, by some miracle, please get him in the team. Kimmich goes over to Alphonso Davies, who actually goes alone, and I'm going to question the goalkeeper there because it's absolutely shocking. They get a goal back here, though, to be fair, from the corner. It's a great ball in, a bit of a dodgy clearance. It's a bit of a mixy one. It's just a mixy goal. Not a goal to be proud of conceding, but it didn't really affect us, as after half-time, we really did take the game to them. Davies with a great ball back stick into Harry Kane. You're not going to stop him from that. You're not going to stop him from anywhere, let alone point-blank range. Gnabry, back stick. He's going to cut it back into Goretzka. One touch, plays it into... Oh, yeah, it's an absolute beautiful finish. No saving that one. And one last goal coming right at the last kick of the game, out wide into Sané, and just look at the options in this box, by the way. Tons of options to play it to. Still enough players back as well, so not going to be sort of prone to the counter-attack. Davies cuts inside. Is he going to go alone? It's a bit of a lucky one, but we've got to take it. If you guys have enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, keep the comments coming on any future managers you want to see, and enjoy the rest of your day.